Hello, Mr. Solomon. Oh, it surprised everyone.
5 years ago in Cairo, Egypt, the bad guys carried out a heist to steal from Egyptian billionaire Solomon. Tarantula hacks the security system while Shark takes down one of the roof guards and replaces him. Tarantula then gives Piranha the cue and swims in circles until he creates a whirlpool in the aquarium, while Snake crawls on the ceiling and cuts the glass with his sharp teeth. Wolf skydives, intent on sneaking into the heavily guarded mansion through the roof. Wolf gives the signal, and Tarantula quickly cuts off the security feed. Shark opens the skylight for him to sneak inside, and through the whirlpool Piranha created as Snake cuts the glass bottom to let Wolf inside. The team gathers with Wolf and appears before Solomon, whom he quickly recognizes as the notorious bad guys. Wolf presses a button to open the vault, revealing that they were after the expensive car inside it. Solomon begs them not to take it, claiming that it is a one-of-a-kind prototype. Tarantula was surprised that they did all that for a car, but Wolf explains that a heist is never about the loot, but more of a power move. Before they escape, Snake gives Solomon a present, which he is surprised to find is a confetti bomb. Wolf drives the car through the window and lands on a giant inflatable at the gates, where 2 cops witness them stealing the car from the mansion. As they escape into the city, they pass several cops who quickly give chase. Despite his reckless driving through narrow streets and unimaginable traffic, the police couldn't catch up to them. Tarantula suggests escaping to the bridge, but when they thought they'd escape, cops set up a blockade and cut him off. Tarantula tells him to drive straight to the ramp, where she hacks a crane to get past the barricade. Just when he thought he'd never give up that lifestyle, Wolf is seen driving a beat-up, broken-down car in New York City 5 years later. He explains how the bad guys suddenly turned good after meeting the infamous Crimson Paw, and helped her capture the notorious Marmalade. They then turned themselves in, hoping to find something better than their previous life of doing bad things. Following their recent release from prison, the bad guys struggle to fit into society. They try to apply for jobs like an honest man, but the employers are hesitant, given their notorious track record, and turn them all down. After yet another failed job interview, Wolf returns to the guys who also struggle to find jobs for themselves. Wolf reassures them that things will eventually work out, but Shark worries for their reputation when they are being framed for the actions of a new criminal group in town, the Phantom Bandit. Suddenly, they were surprised when Snake came home in a pleased mood. Later, still dredging over the continuous rejections, Wolf meets with Diane Foxing, the governor of California, and goes sparring. When Wolf gets too excited, Diane inadvertently knocks him out. While Diane has to leave for yet another fundraiser, she reassures Wolf that everything will work out. Although people want to give them a chance, they need to give them a reason to believe in them. Suddenly, Wolf gets a brilliant idea and decides to help Commissioner Luggins track down the real Phantom Bandit. Wolf shows up at the precinct, to which Luggins isn't entirely pleased. Wolf explains that he can help the police catch the Phantom Bandit, hoping it will give them a good reputation. He claims that all of the robberies happened within the 3-minute window, which suggests that the criminals must have patched into the security from the inside. Wolf brings in Tarantula, their resident master hacker, who explains that they must have an inside man. Wolf also brings in Shark, who is an expert in disguises. Shark pointed out that it was the janitor, given that he was mopping with an empty bucket. Piranha also joins them and pinpoints the criminal's point of entry. Having discovered the when and how, they next need to figure out why. Wolf realized that the stolen artifacts have one thing in common. They are all made with a rare metal called MacGuffinite. Know what Phantom Bandit is after, and the cops will know where they will show up next. Feeling elated for helping the investigation, the bad guys return home excited for their reputation and their future. Tarantula looks into the rare metal and discovers that the most famous MacGuffinite is the Belt of Guatlamongo. Shark quickly recognizes it as the championship trophy for the Lords of Lucha Wrestling Tournament. The guys find it odd that it's where Snake is going, who they claim hates crowds, loud music, and flamboyant costumes. Suddenly it hit Wolf, and he immediately assumed that the Phantom Bandit was Snake. Every robbery is a match for when Snake isn't home and suspects him to be the criminal that the cops are looking for. With the evidence pointing to Snake, Wolf worries that should the cops find him, they'll put him back in prison. The team quickly headed for the tournament to find Snake when Luggins suddenly showed up. Shark panicked and knocked her out. When they worry they'd struggle to find him, they quickly spot him in the crowd. They take out their frustration on him when they were surprised to discover he was with his new girlfriend, a raven named Susan. Handsome Jorge was about to win the tournament, but when they were about to award him the belt, a new challenger walked up to the ring. Wolf claims that the challenger must be the Phantom Bandit, explaining that the best way to steal the belt is to win it. When the challenger was about to finish off Handsome Jorge, Wolf threw a chair at him. The challenger walks up to Wolf, displeased at his interruption when Shark and Piranha, in costumes, jump into the ring. Worried for them, Wolf tricks the other wrestlers into joining the match in a Royal Rumble. Left with no choice, the bad guys tag team the challenger and unmask him. Wolf explains that the challenger plans on stealing the belt, but when they look up, it goes missing, and the challenger straps it onto Piranha. The crowd goes wild when they quickly recognize them as the bad guys and assume they were stealing it for themselves. With an angry mob chasing them, Chief Luggins misunderstands the situation and quickly assumes that the bad guys were the thieves after all. With a police barricade cutting their escape, Susan comes to their rescue on a hot dog truck and gives them a ride. The group was impressed with Susan for coming to their rescue when they asked how she and Snake met. Snake says that he and Susan met on a bus, who at the time were both interested in a boy's hamster. They quickly fell in love, and Susan and Snake shared an awkward kiss in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Diane holds a press conference, prompting reporters to wonder when she plans to throw the bad guys back into prison. She tries to calm them down, telling them not to jump to conclusions until they have all the evidence. Suddenly, she receives a call from Wolf from a payphone in the middle of the desert. He explains that they didn't do it, which she believes, but worries that she can't call off the cops. She asks him for clues to work with, but Wolf claims the only thing they know is that the thieves are after stuff made of MacGuffinite. Wolf returns to the others, relieved that Diane is working on their case, only to find them knocked out. Susan waits in the truck and shoots him with a tranquilizer dart, revealing that she is in cahoots with the criminals. When they wake up, the bad guys find themselves tied to a chair in a warehouse. Their leader, Kitty, reveals herself before them along with Pigtails, who was disguised as a wrestler back at the tournament, and Doom, who the others knew as Susan, Snake's supposed girlfriend. It turns out that Doom was only using him to lure the bad guys. Kitty then enlists their help in one last job, but when Wolf turns her down, Kitty shows them video footage that reveals Diane as the Crimson Paw, her former criminal identity. Blackmailed, Wolf decides to take the job, worried that Diane's secret would destroy her reputation and her career. Wondering what the job was, Kitty takes them outside and reveals that they need their help in stealing the experimental Moon-X rocket. Wolf wonders why their outfits don't seem appropriate for breaking into the launch site, but Kitty claims that they aren't breaking in. She explains that they have figured out a way to circumvent every security measure on the rocket. It turns out that Mr. Moon's wristwatch controls everything from the front gate to mission control, and even blast off. Unfortunately, Moon never takes off the watch, but Kitty claims that they might have a window at Moon's wedding. Shark goes in as the inside man, pretending to be the event's coordinator. Raven sneaks inside as one of the servers, while Piranha acts as one of the bodyguards. At the wedding, Moon will be wearing a pair of AI-enhanced glasses to identify the high rollers. Snake sneaks into the vents to take down the feed of the security room, while Pigtails shows up claiming to be an electrician. When the guard verifies her identity, Piranha vouches for her. Once inside, Pigtails will connect to the system, allowing Tarantula to hack into it. Once everything is in place, that's the cue for Wolf to enter the scene under the guise of a high roller so he could get close to Mr. Moon and swipe the watch off him. Everything was going according to plan when Wolf decided to cut in line before Tarantula could hack into Moon's glasses. Thanks to Tarantula's quick thinking, she managed to buff up Wolf's net worth at the last minute, earning him a chance to get close and personal with the groom. Wolf was about to snatch the watch from Moon when Solomon, the Egyptian billionaire that the bad guys stole a car from in the past, showed up. Wolf panics, worried that Solomon might recognize him. Kitty confronts Wolf for blowing up the heist, but he worries that Solomon would recognize him and blow his disguise. Shark walks in with a dazed bride who got hit by a tranquilizer. When they thought it wouldn't get worse, the priest gleefully walks in, but Shark panics and knocks him out. Kitty is frustrated that the team seems to mess everything up, but when she threatens to go viral with Diane's secret, Wolf reassures her that he can still swipe the watch. At the wedding, Wolf dresses up as the bride unbeknownst to everyone and walks down the aisle. Shark dresses up as the priest and officiates the wedding. As the bride and groom were about to hold hands, Solomon remembered Wolf. He was about to tell everyone, so Piranha runs to stop him. Solomon breaks up the wedding, but Wolf pretends to faint so Moon would catch him. Thanks to some lights to distract everyone, Shark replaces Wolf with the still dazed bride, to which Solomon was surprised, as he was sure about Wolf. Security escorts Solomon out while Shark and Wolf make their quick escape. As the team escaped with the watch, everyone was happy that everything worked out. Kitty was surprised his plan worked, to which Wolf explained that there are 3 parts to every con. First, they bait a hook to which Tarantula hacked Solomon's phone and hinted about the big bad wolf. Snake then skillfully flashes the lights so Solomon would recognize the shadow under the veil. Piranha runs up to Solomon and antagonizes him into making a scene. Kitty brings the real bride behind the background, and when Solomon makes a scene, Pigtail flashes the lights so Doom can swoop in and fly away with Wolf while the bride replaces him. Wolf claims that everything is all about the art of misdirection. Meanwhile, Diane visits Maximum Prison to see Marmalade, who was known for his research into MacGuffinite. Marmalade refuses to answer her questions unless she beats him at 5 in a row. Marmalade explains that MacGuffinite is a giant gold magnet to which Kitty plans to use to lure all the gold to her. Marmalade also hinted that she isn't the first person to visit him and asks him about it. Diane quickly checks the log and discovers Kitty visited him too. Using her secret database, Diane discovers where they are headed and flies in a jetpack she brought with her. Wolf reminds Kitty of the deal they made, but when she was about to give him the flash drive, she tells him the story of her first heist instead. Kitty tells him that back in school, she had a teacher who used to give her lollipops. She didn't understand why then, and wonders if it was because of her claws or her teeth. One time, while the teacher wasn't looking, Kitty swiped a whole bag of lollipops from her drawer. Since then, when the kids wanted lollipops, they went to her. She claims that the more she stole, the more people respect her, and wonders why he gave it all up. After their talk, Wolf sneaks out back where the gang is waiting for him. Turns out, Wolf was recording Kitty, who admitted on camera that they framed them up. Wolf got to thinking and wondered if they had made a mistake becoming good guys. But the others claim everything will work out now that they helped catch the Phantom Bandit. When they were about to escape, the truck won't start, and Wolf quickly realized that they were being set up and Kitty and the others were lying in wait. The bad guys get caught again, but this time they get placed in gold cuffs. Kitty prepares the device, but when she powers it up, they discover it's a gold magnet while they are hanging from a crane. Pigtail claims they're taking it to outer space, to which Kitty explains is how they plan to steal all the gold from the planet, describing it to be the biggest heist in history. Kitty pulls out the flash drive and uploads it to a laptop. Wolf begs her not to do it, but she explains that she promised Marmalade, essentially a quid pro quo arrangement. Kitty turns off the device, and the guys fall back to the ground. They try to stop the upload, but Kitty turns on the device again and throws the remote at Wolf. She gives them a choice: turn off the device, but the video goes viral, or keep it on and continue hanging from a crane until the police show up. After Kitty and the others left, they tried everything, but nothing worked. In their last attempt, they plan on throwing the laptop directly into the fire, but Wolf misses and the video gets uploaded. Meanwhile, Kitty and the others walk through the front gates, using the watch to get past security. They suit up and are ready to board the rocket when Diane shows up, waiting for them. Diane explains how she knows about everything after visiting Marmalade in prison. When she demanded they surrender, they fought against her but were no match against the Crimson Paw. Although she confiscated the MacGuffinite, Kitty tells her that she's no longer the governor. Doom tells her to check the phone and is shocked to find that her secret is out. Still in disbelief, Diane gets shot by a tranquilizer dart. Losing her consciousness, she tries to stop them, but they move past her, so she pushes herself to crawl into the rocket before the hatch closes. The cops show up at the warehouse and take the bad guys into custody. In light of the video footage, the police have released Marmalade, who they discovered was wrongly convicted. Wolf tries to convince Luggins that they're the good guys, but she is still hesitant. Driving away, Luggins decides to trust her gut and believes Wolf's story. Wolf explains that they need to stop the rocket from leaving. Everyone is surprised that the MoonX rocket is launching 3 days earlier, but Luggins and the bad guys commandeer a helicopter to chase after it. Left with no choice, Luggins flies the aircraft close to the rocket and entrusts Wolf and the guys to finish this. They nearly get left behind during staging as the rocket passes through several layers of atmosphere and detaches itself from the boosters. Once in space, Kitty orders Pigtail to modify the crane and retrofit it with MacGuffinite. Wolf and the others wear spacesuits to stop the Phantom Bandit from destroying Earth. Tarantula and Shark will hack the external console, while Snake and Piranha will pop the control panel to engage the manual override switch. Although they find the external console, Shark struggles to press the buttons with his giant arms, while Piranha panics and farts inside the suit. Everything was going according to plan when Kitty activated her device that pulled all of the gold from Earth and came swirling into space. Piranha panics again and releases a powerful gas that knocks out Snake. When the Phantom Bandits discover the guys are in space, Pigtail and Doom do not want to attack them and ask Kitty to stop. Kitty refuses and gets angry at them for giving up on their plan. She orders them to secure the airlock while she overpowers the machine, and large quantities of gold start magnetizing around the device. Wolf makes it inside, and the two fight it out in a confrontation over the remote. Although Kitty eventually breaks the remote, Wolf was able to swipe the wristwatch from her, and with Tarantula's help, they break the big ball of gold with the shuttle's boosters. Kitty furiously attacks Wolf for ruining her plan when Diane arrives and wrestles her down. When he sees her, Wolf quickly leaps into her arms and embraces Diane, to which she overcomes her hesitation and kisses him. Pigtail and Doom grab Snake and Piranha, who were uncontrollably spiraling in space. The group reunites and celebrates their victory when the shuttle suddenly falls into orbit. With the shuttle crashing back to Earth, everyone starts to panic. But Wolf gives them a speech about never giving up because they have hope. Despite it all, Luggins speaks at a memorial service for Diane and the bad guys, explaining how, despite the rejections they have, they still come together to save everyone. After an excellent speech that made everyone cry, Luggins sneaks back into the room where, despite their injuries, everyone was alive. They wonder who the men in suits were, to which Luggins explains that this was the best way if they wanted to do some serious good. The man in black informs them that they have been selected as ideal candidates for ISGLOP, short for International Supergalactic League of Protectives. Although it sounds fishy, Luggins claims this is their chance to become secret agents. After changing into suits, Diane and the bad guys get into a car and head out for their first mission. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos, and subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.